Hello everyone, welcome to the day 2 of our debatable session, and we're gonna start in few minutes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day two of the Debatables 2.0, which is being organized by the Somaiya Debating Society in collaboration with TEDxSomaiyaVidyavihar. I am Nadir Sayed, and I will be a presiding officer. Mr. Kaushik will be chairing this debate. I hope that the format is clear to you all. I'll go over it quickly. First up, we'll have the first speaker from the proposition, followed by the first speaker from the opposition. Both these speeches will be of 3 minutes each. This will be followed by a rebuttal round, which will be of 4 minutes long, after which we'll have the second speaker from the proposition, followed by the second speaker from the opposition. Again, these will be of 3 minutes each. Speakers, please note that you'll have 3 minutes to put forward your arguments, after which you'll get exactly 15 seconds to wrap up your entire speech. Anything you say after this will not be considered by the chair. Lastly, we'll have the concluding speech from the proposition, followed by the concluding speech from the opposition. Both these speeches will be of 2 minutes each. Alright, so with that done, I would like the speakers to introduce themselves. First speaker from the proposition, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, this is Gia. I'm the first speaker from the proposition.
Thank you, speaker. Second speaker from the proposition, can you please introduce yourself? Second speaker from the proposition, is she here?
Yeah, she's here, but she's still mute. Just a second, I'll text her.
Sure.
Hello, Ragini, are you there? We can't hear you. Your voice is not getting through.
Hello,
Yeah, now we can hear you.
hello.
Yes, please.
Actually, my phone was hanging. That's what the reason was. Hello, I'm Ragini Sharma, and I'm from the proposition side. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. Now, first speaker from the opposition, can you please introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Panti Patel.
Thank you, speaker. Now, second speaker from the opposition, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. This is Arya, and I'm the second speaker of opposition.
Thank you, speaker. All right, I'll just share the timer so it will be easier to keep a track of your time. Speakers, please join the live. Just give me a second. Now, I would like to call upon the first speaker from the proposition to open the debate. Speaker, please start whenever I'll start the timer.
All right. Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Jia Shah, and I'm from the proposition team. And my teammate is Ragini Sharma. She's the second speaker. First, I would like to begin with discussing some of the worker rights that are very basic and they're followed globally. The first one is ensuring a safe and healthy working environment for workers and equal opportunity. The second one is ensuring fair wages, and the last one is reasonable limitation of working hours. Now, let's discuss how much of this is actually followed in the real world scenario. As we all know, workers work in an unhealthy environment, sometimes mentally, sometimes physically. For example, workers that work in manufacturing units or factories, they are often exposed to toxic chemicals, high temperatures, very highly changing air and water pressure changes. There are several accidents which occur daily where the workers' body parts get stuck in the machinery. There are safety guards which are not implemented for cost cutting, which ultimately benefits the employers. And most workers are hired on temporary basis with no proper formulation of a contract that indicates a permanent job. They are hired on minimum wage contracts per day, which are not enough to help them get by their household. They are highly exploited. The most corporate giants even hand over the work to employees on holidays under the pretext of work from home. They keep adding additional responsibilities without increasing the wages. Employees work off the clock. They do not know they should be paid for time spent traveling or waiting for work. These are basic examples that are formulated under the pretext of protecting them in case of the lower class are actually just a facade. In many companies, the rules are followed, but the employees aren't given pay for their overtime or not utilizing leave days. Hence, we believe that rights do hold a substantial value in terms of their working life, and some rights are no doubt non negotiable. But they should be allowed to exercise flexibility for some of these rights in exchange for higher pay. This whole concept itself has a lot of benefits in improving the lives of workers. Higher wages means more workers, more productivity, more motivation. And if we compare the impact of both, it's an obvious answer that rights in the workplace are important, but they do not benefit the workers with their livelihood. They cannot get along with low wages and no flexibility of worker rights because it's just making it harder for them to pay for their household expenses. Higher wages also has benefits like better health and more stamina, and it basically ensures a gradual increase in the standard of living, which is an initial step to diminishing inequality that is prevalent globally. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. Now, I would like to call upon the first speaker from the opposition to put their case forward. Speaker, please start whenever I'll start the timer.
Hello, I am the first speaker of opposition. So let's start by understanding what workers' rights are. Workers' rights encompass a large array of human rights. Specific rights related to workplace include health and safety protections, privacy at work, maternity, paternity leaves, many others. Two of these are mentioned in the motion itself. United Nations has universally identified workers' rights as human rights, and human rights are non-negotiable. So my first point is allowing workers to sell their rights is a human rights violation. Workers' rights are put into place by the government to protect employees, workers. Many acts and organizations have been formed to maintain them. So the second point would be how concentrating this motion is. Considering that this motion is regarding the lower class most, as they are more likely to take it on. The change of them being strict rises. As you know, the lower class is highly strict. This motion will only make it more. Those who do not understand or are unaware of technicality can easily fall prey and find themselves stuck in a contract, maybe even slavery. On the other hand, even workers can misuse this, selling their rights, taking extra money, then switching jobs when they find themselves regretting it. The number of people quitting can rise considerably. It might then lead to companies preferring a certain type of workers, those who sell their rights or those who don't, according to their intentions. So you see this motion is highly complicated and will make the whole system suffer. Coming to workers selling rights might seem like an easy way of gaining more money, but in long term, lack of safety and health benefits can cause problems. People might not always realize what is right for them. But it is the responsibility of government to act in the favor of people. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. Now, with that done, we'll move on to the rebuttal rounds. This will be 4 minutes long and it starts with a question from the opposition. Proposition will take it up and they'll ask another question in turn. Please keep in mind there is no cross questioning, cross talk, or follow up questions allowed. If you feel your question wasn't addressed satisfactorily, that will be taken care by the chair in their verdict. Also, please keep your questions short and to the point. With that done, opposition, please go ahead and ask your first question.
My first question is many people do not know how much amount rights and can be easily manipulated. So my question is, don't you think this motion would make it more easy for companies or organizations to trick people?
See, as for the manipulation of rights, I agree. Most workers aren't even aware of their rights, but they do know certain basic things and they are not being followed. For example, with leaves, they do not know that there are paid leaves and unpaid leaves. With maternity, there are a bunch of rules that come in. So when they have, I'm not saying they should give up all the fundamental rights, that is ethically wrong. But I'm saying there should be a flexibility of rights where they can compromise. For example, the most basic example is overtime. If the employee chooses to work overtime, he should be paid extra.
The question I would like to ask to my opposition is that they said that the worker could cheat the organization by changing the works or everything like that. So I would like to ask them that by not providing those rights is not it's a choice of that of the workers to actually not get that right and instead get the money for their sake, because whatever they do it for their own choice, because they want it, because they know that it is more important than getting that rights. So don't you think that the main intention behind not taking any rights is because they have something else important than those rights?
Yes, well, I agree to that. That sometimes people don't actually understand many things. Many people don't have enough education to know what they want and what is right actually. Yes, I agree. Temporarily, they might want extra money and they might sell their rights. But if you really look at it in the long run, you see that selling rights is going to cause only problems. If they don't have health security, safety, and if they need it in times of need, what are they going to do? They can't even sue the company. because then they've already sold their rights. And in any other right also, if they sell it and if a situation arises wherein they need it, they can't get it. Rights are in any case not something that should be sold. It is not property.
Opposition, what's your question in return? Do you want me to continue the narrative or what?
Do we have any more questions or should we continue?
Just a minute. Yes. My question would be, do you think it is appropriate to sell your safety, your protection, or any other right for money?
No, I do not feel it's appropriate. But there are certain rights which can be flexible. That's what I'm focusing on since the start. I'm not telling the rights should be sold entirely. You cannot sell all of your rights. But some rights out of 10, there are 3 to 4 rights that can be manipulated, can be flexible enough to benefit the workers in their own way. If they are compensated in terms of in selling their rights in terms of monetary compensation, it's fair to them. It benefits them in some way. Because rights, they cannot live along on rights. We already have a set of rights by the government to protect them, and we can see the condition of the workers in our country itself. It's not taking them anywhere. They are still poor.
Okay, I think the opposition asked two questions and the proposition asked only one, so we'll be taking one more question. I hope that it will be short and it will be completed in time.
Okay, yeah. The opposition mentioned a thing about tricky contracts, but tricky contracts are a part of the employer, not a part of the employee. Employee doesn't formulate the contracts, the employer does. What's your take on that? Why did you mention the concept of tricky manipulative contracts?
The main point of mentioning that was actually that employers trick their employees by such contracts, and in a way, like you said, flexible rights. Rights are something that should not be manipulated at all. That word you used was completely wrong. Manipulation is not right for rights because they are human rights. You see, worker rights are human rights. And
Speaker, are you done with your answer or you want to say something else?
sorry, yes, my point is that if workers can be tricked without the manipulation of rights, what do you think about when the rights are manipulated? Then the workers will be tricked more. The possibilities of them being tricked becomes a lot more.
I don't
Speaker,
feel so
there
because
is
they are
no
in power.
follow-up questions allowed, and we'll now be moving forward. I hope that you understand there are no cross-questioning or follow-up questions allowed. So, thank you, speakers. Now, I would like to invite the second speaker on the proposition to put their case forward. Speaker, please start whenever I'll start the timer and keep in mind that you'll be given 3 minutes and after that 15 seconds only to wrap up your speech.
Yes, okay. So, should I start? Hello?
Yeah, yeah, start.
Okay, so please, I was not knowing, so please start the timer again, please. Uh, I would like to bring everyone's attention towards the developing and undeveloped nations. When I speak about them, I speak about almost 80% of population in the world, and for India, almost 90 to 95% of population. These are the countries where workers have to struggle hard to maintain even an average standard of living, where having own house, sending children to a good school, or buying a car are the more favorable, like more important dreams. In such conditions, in such circumstances, if they are allowed to compromise with negotiable rights in exchange of higher payments, then that can indeed be the real help for them. With that money, they can surely fulfill their all their dreams. I'm not saying that the rights are not helpful, but the worker should have the freedom to do what they want to do. And that's possible only if they get money in place of rights. Few companies provides the right of annual outing. So if a worker has a dream to study abroad and he wants to save money for that, then certainly he should be allowed to compromise such rights. Recently, I came across a news in which a working woman committed suicide out of depression. The depression was because she did not had much money to send her child into good school, which was her one of the most important dream. So I ask, is this rights more important than such consequences? If such rights have become could be replaced with money, then they could have surely made some way to send her child into a good school. So in this way we can use such money for more important works, or the works that really matters, or the things which are in which are really affecting us. In such countries, when I speak about this developing and undeveloped countries, what we find is that they work more but paid the same amount, and India makes a very high record in such reports. What we see, it's a recent report where the longest working hours, but payment is the same here. It means what we see, that labor law only says that 8 to 9 hours should the normal working hours, but in our country 12 hours to 13 hours is the normal working hours for each and everyone. But the payment is the same. So in such conditions, what I feel, that the worker should be paid more for these extra hours that they work, which they are not getting right now. So now I would like to share one of my experience. My sister works in Accenture, and just few months before, the company provided 20,000 money to form a office setup for home. And the condition was that if you don't buy anything out of office setup, then you're gonna get no money. So we had chair, we had table, and everything that an office setup requires. But we had to buy again one more chair, one more mouse, more table for the sake. At that time, we really needed one laptop for our all online classes, but we can't do that. So with this, it is very clear that how this rights can be useful, how this can be useful if it has been changed into the money, if it has been exchanged into the money. So that's
Speaker,
why
the
I believe.
time has been exceeded, so I must request you to stop here because it will not be considered.
Okay,
3 minutes
okay.
and 15 seconds be given to you. So,
Oh,
thank you, Speaker. Now, I
thank
would
you.
like to invite the second speaker from the opposition to put their case forward. Speaker, please start whenever I start the timer.
Hi everyone. I would like to counter what was just said. Um, you said the rights are not actually being put into force, but don't you see it is the responsibility of the government to make sure that the rights are actually enforced. So in case it's not really the the workers are not the people who have done the wrong thing. It is the government who is not enforcing the right in a right way. The rights are not enforced. So what I think is, when you say money, when you say there's not enough money for people to do what they want to do and their dreams and all that, there are many more ways to earn money.
I apologize for interrupting here, but could you please restart because there was some issue on my end and I had to disconnect. Very sorry about this, but please start if possible because you were not audible to me.
Sure.
All right.
Speaker, please start when I will start the timer.
Okay, I would like to start by countering what was just said. Um, they said that the rights that are already there are not being enforced properly. But you see, enforcing rights is the responsibility of the government. It is not something that is done by the workers. There is nothing wrong being done on the side of the workers. It is the responsibility of the government to make sure that the rights are enforced correctly. And at the point of money, there are many ways apart from selling your rights to make money. You can take a loan and then pay it later in small amounts. You can work harder and gain promotion. You can save money and invest it in very different sources that are available. Yes, I agree that workers are not educated enough. They don't know much about the rights and what they deserve. But this again is something that is the responsibility of the government to make sure that people know what their rights are and that the rights are enforced. And selling rights would only create problems because once people start selling rights, greed and envy, which is basic human tendency, would make it would make them sell more of their rights, and then in a way they would become machines doing work without any assurance and nothing to fight for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, speakers. Now we'll be moving on with the concluding statements. Please note that you're not allowed to bring any new arguments here, and you will only be given 2 minutes to conclude your statement. So please start. I would request proposition to please start when I start the timer.
Okay, so the government formulates the rules for the workers, right? But they are not the workers. They do not understand the condition of the workers. Taking a loan is too far-fetched. So basically, as stated, there are several loopholes involved with the worker rights in many places. No one should be allowed to exploit workers to simply run a more profitable business. Rights are important, but there should be a line drawn between negotiable and non-negotiable rights. Non-negotiable rights are maternity leave, safe and healthy working environment, workplace harassment, reporting in case of workplace harassment, and discrimination. Now we come to the negotiable rights, which can be changed, can be flexible to benefit the worker. So a worker may choose to work on an off day, which compromises his right for rest on public or company holidays. But this right can easily be foregone at the worker's discretion. It's his choice to let it go. In exchange for the time he's putting in for work, he should be paid money. Another example is notice period. The employer cannot fire an employee without a notice period. In case he does that, the worker can file a legal case. Now, this right can be flexible because the worker can choose to forego the legal case and instead take the compensation for being fired for his wrongful termination. The third one is compromise on the right to form a union. Workers have a right to form a union where they can collectively demand beneficial working conditions from their employers. The workers may choose to give up union formation if they are actually paid higher wages individually. Then they don't have to fight for anything. That's the basic point we want to emphasize on negotiable and non-negotiable rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Now I would like to call upon the opposition to put forward their concluding statements. Speaker, please start when I start the timer.
Like you said about trade union. Sorry, not trade union. Right. Like you said about the workers' union. The workers' union is something that is for the workers. And again, if they sell that right, the right of a union, if any such situations arise where they need to make their case, where they need to say what their problems are, what are they going to do? Again, money is not everything. Getting a higher pay is not going to solve the normal simple problems. Again, when you the motion clearly states maternity and paternity leave, when you say that they are non-negotiable, again the motion becomes non-negotiable because it is not. Maternity leave is something that is not negotiable, which you said yourself. Again, about vacations, the leave provided for vacation is not compulsory. They can choose not to work, and that leave is carried forward in the next year, which is again for their benefit. It is not for the government or the company. Everything that is happening is for the workers. They don't need to sell anything, not their rights, nothing. The only thing is the government needs to make sure that the rights are enforced because many places and many companies do not do that. So again, it is the responsibility of the government.
Speaker, are you done with your speech?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. With that speech, we have come to the end of this debate. Chair, would you like to take some time before you give the verdict?
Just give me a minute to send you my scores and get things in order, then I'll just.
Sure.
Hi, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you're audible.
We Great. So I'll just give you a few remarks on the debate itself and where what happened, and also about which team won it. So, firstly, moving on to the verdict, I think the opposition takes this on a very narrow margin in terms of understanding why this is so. a couple of general themes that the debate had run in terms of understanding what essentially these rights have value over and what essentially these right-based systems actually constitute, right? So even you're talking to me about how some rights have a negotiable and a non-negotiable nature in terms of contradicting the apprehension of that these rights might be alienable or non-alienable in terms of how these are used by individuals themselves. If these are then showcased by the opposition side to have a problematic implication towards the future of these workers in general, as well as the social strata that this um, thing lives within, is something that was enough for us to then understand that yeah, the opposition has a fair enough point in terms of your responses to non-negotiable rights and negotiable rights, right? In terms of even understanding what exactly happened through the proposition's case, even you're claiming there is separation or a requirement for segregation of rights, in terms of what metric are this separation matters actually accrued, and even when you're conceding to the fact that yes, some rights cannot be discounted, and even when some rights are discounted, we are not getting them go completely. I think that in itself creates a policy where you are not exploring enough how one right is intrinsically going to be so unimportant to individuals that they can essentially be sold off, right? Because when the opposition tells me clearly that there are certain cases where human rights violations and occurrences happen, then when you are selling off these particular rights, the ability for government systems to not take responsibility for these rights, and there might also be chance in the future of misuse of the rights which were happening, is something that can be problematic, because then because these workers may be misinformed and because they don't have the ability to understand that selling of these rights might have certain problematic situations, is something which would then benefit their case in some uh, degree more than what you were proposing in the proposition side, where you clearly highlight to me that there was certain key distinction between rights themselves, that you will be open to the idea of selling these rights towards the conclusion. So what better could have been done, I think, is something that you could have hashed out more as to what these frameworks look like and what exactly these rights and why exactly these rights are supposed to be um, up for grabs in terms of how you are financing your entire right. So when you do say to me that there are certain ways that these employees get benefits financially, is that a sufficient enough consideration to then give away all human rights and all the other ability for these workers to then sustain themselves within systems or social systems which the opposition headed up? I think that's where the opposition narrowly took this debate. And in terms of the rebuttals and questions that happened across the rebuttal round, I think that was a great enough clarification as to why we stood where we stood, right? In terms of understanding that why the importance of these rights are somewhat discounted, and when there is a concession by the proposition that right, these rights are maybe not that well known to these individuals, and even when you're making concession of these rights, we cannot then completely sell off these rights, right? So I think that's where the entire debate stood, whereas it was a good amount of exploration about different aspects of it. What you could better do in terms of next time that you might take up this activity, try to hash out or explain to me more why some things must be considered in contrast to the others, like how you engage with the idea of human rights, how do you engage with the differentiation, and also structure your speech in a way that sometimes you don't go around contradicting yourself. So in my remarks, I think those are all sufficiently enough to understand where this debate went. Thank you for a great round. Hope you guys could do well and continue on. Abir, would you take over?
Yeah, I think you did not say which team won and which team lost.
Yeah, I did mention that towards the start, right? The opposition took the debate over the prop. I think I was going too fast so that it was not very clear. But yeah, opposition took this debate.
Okay,
If that was some, yeah,
okay. That was a great debate, a
great.
pretty close one. So, thank you, speakers. Thank you, Chair, for joining us today. And we are done with today. Thank you so much.
Somaiya Debating Society in collaboration with TEDxSomaiyaVidyavihar. I am Girik Bamra and I'll be your presiding officer. Mr. Kaushik will be chairing this debate. I hope that the format is clear to you all. I'll go over it quickly. First up, we'll have the first speaker from the proposition followed by the first speaker from the opposition. Both these speeches will be of 3 minutes each. This will be followed by a rebuttal round, which will be of 4 minutes. And after that, we'll have the second speaker from the proposition followed by the second speaker from the opposition again. And these will also be of 3 minutes each. Speakers must note that you will have 3 minutes to put your arguments forward, after which you'll get exactly 15 seconds to wrap up your entire speech. Anything you say after this will not be considered by the chair. Lastly, we'll have the concluding speech from the proposition followed by the concluding speech from the opposition. Both these speeches will be of 2 minutes each. So now that we are done, I would like the speakers to introduce themselves. First speaker from the proposition, can you please proceed?
Do I have to just introduce or I can carry forward with my opening speech?
Only your name for now.
Okay, I'm Ananya Shrivastava.
Okay, second speaker from proposition.
I'm Rutuja Gaikwad.
First speaker from proposition, please introduce yourself.
Well, hi everyone, I'm Prerna in second year AIDS.
Second speaker from opposition, please introduce yourself.
Aditya Verma.
Okay, thank you, all speakers. All right, so I'll just share the timer. It will be easier to keep a track of your speaker time. And yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Prerna, could you please check your microphone? Your voice was quite low.
Am I audible now?
This is a bit better, but could you try fixing it a bit more?
Yeah, sure. Well, now is it fine?
Yeah, better. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll move forward with the debate. I would like to call upon the first speaker from the proposition. Please let me know when you can start. I'll start the timer.
Okay, I will start now. The next time you say that we should let media divert from social responsibility, remember that's where the knives are. Good evening to governors, educators, and my fellow participants. This is Ananya with Rutuja in the proposition of the motion that magazines and newspapers should be forced to feature more normal looking people. Media and the judiciary are two of the most important pillars of India, which, whenever tend to not go hand in hand, create chaos. Indian newspapers and magazines are exhibiting a lamentable lack of what is called as social responsibility. The focus is more and more on what is referred to as page 3 personalities, who was invited to Vijay Mallya's last birthday bash, what were the guests wearing, which Bollywood starlet is supposedly having an affair with which six-pack hunk of a male model, etc. In short, bling on the glamour and glitz, and to hell with the normal looking natives. Newspapers and magazines are producing a potentially grave crisis of credibility. As per a report by the Transnational Institute Amsterdam, illusory beauty standards and famous personalities are the major highlights. 10% of famous businessmen steal the spotlight in these newspapers and magazines. A report by IBM Institute of Business Value and Oxford Economics says that 90% of businessmen are actually failing. Wouldn't a highlight upon those normal looking people make India a better place? This small talented farmer in Malegaon named Kamlesh Ghumare with his startup KG Acrotech has been struggling to make both ends meet. Didn't he deserve a space in the columns for his outstanding inventions that could transform India? Even if TOI has to print a Dabar Gulabari ad instead of showing a realistic face, a fair actress is chosen. Doesn't that emotionally destroy the people out there who are actually so beautiful, however, get stuck into the labyrinth of fake beauty standards? be it with TOI, Forbes India, or anything else. Don't all these incidents catch your jugular vein? A former associated editor with the TOI and writer of JS magazine, Jack Suraya, in one of his blogs, very well talked about the Junior Statesman magazine. It served as an interconnecting platform for so many people across the country, relied on our readers to also be the contributors. It was an eclectic mix, representing all shades of people as diverse as India itself. And that is how newspapers and magazines should be, featuring normal looking people. Because in a country like India, newspapers and magazines are so affordable that they are responsible to bring out about a good influence on the natives. And this will not happen until they are forced and provided with relevant protocols. Only then they would stop shortchanging social responsibility in favor of page 3 frippery and frivolity. So, is media becoming all froth and no social responsibility? Yes, it probably is. And the reason for that is not far to seek. Look in the mirror, and the reason is you. You fail to recognize these issues and tend to blindfold yourself. Face the reality, aim for a better India, as God has given you small eyes, but to see the limitless sky. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Speaker. I would now like the first speaker from the opposition to put forward their case. Please let me know when you can start.
Greek, could you please switch to a stopwatch?
Yes, I'm ready.
This is a stopwatch only.
It's a timer, just second tab would be the stopwatch.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, please let me know when you're ready. First speaker from the opposition.
Yeah, I can start.
Okay.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'll be speaking against the motion that newspapers and magazines should be forced to feature more normal looking people. Well, one of the main purposes of magazines is to make it more attractive. In one glance, the photographs grab the attention of the readers. If you want to look at normal people, the world is a huge place, and you can just lift your head up and look at the people around you. They are all just normal looking people. We are all fans of some or the other fictional characters like Harry Potter or the Iron Man or the Hulk. And these aren't just some normal looking people, these are people with extraordinary looks and acting skills. Remember using a Barbie toothbrush or a Benton watch in childhood. The reason kids love them is because they look adorable. All the commercials need publicity today. Almost every YouTube video ends with this sentence: do like, share, and comment. And you see, that's publicity here too. An average person just knows around 600 people in his life, while a celebrity or an influencer has about a following in millions. Hence, it makes more sense to take celebrities to be featured in newspapers and magazines. If you are at a party and there is some good looking person who is extremely gorgeous and well dressed, they grab a lot of attention. And that is the whole purpose of advertisement, to grab the audience attention. People have a natural tendency to look at beautiful things, and there is no harm in appreciating beautiful things. Beauty is not just about your face but also your body. That's why sports persons are often chosen for endorsements, as they have a good body build and are more suitable for the brand advertisement. A lot of people use drink mixes like Bonvita and Horlicks, even we do. But for advertisement purposes, sports players like Virat Kohli and MS Dhoni are featured, as they are notable icons for the audience and promote fitness goals among the youth. We all know about that case where Ronaldo's action of removing the Coca-Cola bottles during a press conference ahead of Portugal's clash against Hungary in 2020. And the very next day, we see that the shares prices fell by 1.6% from 242 to 238 billion, and that's the power of a celebrity. Ranveer Singh wearing weird outfits with different color contrast makes him noticeable and promotes the brand of his clothing. A normal person wouldn't be able to pull this off. We might make fun of it, but in the end, it catches our eye and gives him what exactly he wants, that is publicity. Women buy accessories and outfits which make them look more presentable and attractive, and that is why media endorses such female actresses doing that, because that's what exactly the audience wants to see. The target audiences and the masses connect more with the person rather than the brand. Kylie Cosmetics is famous because of Kylie Jenner. Being Human is famous because of Salman Khan, and that's why celebrities are taken for promoting the fashion line. Wearing makeup or looking gorgeous gives confidence to some people, so that shouldn't be judged upon. Makeup has a significant positive effect on all outcomes.
Okay, Prerna, I'll have to stop you now. We are done with
Yes.
your time. Okay, so thank you, Prerna. Now that we are done with this round, we'll be moving on to the rebuttal round. This round will be of 4 minutes. It starts with a question from the opposition. The proposition will take it up and they'll ask another question in turn. No cross questioning, cross talk, or follow up questions will be allowed. If you feel your question wasn't addressed satisfactorily, that will be considered by the chair in their verdict. Also, please keep your questions short and to the point. With that done, the opponent, please go ahead and ask the first question. Please let me know when you can start.
Yeah. My first question to the proposition is, how are you going to choose normal looking people for an advertisement? As you can see, the amount of good looking people according to a specific person is quite less, and it is easier to choose from them.
My answer to this is that good looking people, I see a good look in every other person. So I'm not going to choose a good looking person for something wrong, maybe a pan masala. Just because Amitabh Bachchan does an ad for a pan masala and people are following him, that is something wrong which is happening. I better choose a normal person, but who is automatically good looking for me, doesn't need a fair skin, doesn't need a proper size. I'd better choose for him and do something that is more ethical and more righteous. Would you like to add something, Rutuja?
Yes, I would say that we need to change our definition to beauty. I think that beautiful means to be yourself. You don't need to be accepted by others. You need to accept yourself. Outer beauty attracts, but inner beauty captivates. You need to normalize these beauty standards. What is beauty actually? Due to this beauty standardization, we are losing confidence in ourselves. Teens are getting affected. What is this beauty actually? The outward appearance, which is actually void in itself. There is no
Also, I
actual
would,
definition of beauty.
Can I
But when
can I ask a question
also I
again?
would, no, no, cross questioning is not allowed. Although
Okay.
I just wanted to add this thing that there is this app called Healthify Me, and I'll tell you that they when it comes to their app and when it comes to all the written advertisements that they do, they actually are showing the transformations of a person from when they started getting into fitness and when they're almost fit now. So I think this kind of advertisements I would do instead of showing a good looking person. No, I wouldn't show a good looking person, but I would do a proper marketing. I would study
even
properly, and that is how I can show the value of my product. A good model, a good looking, so called good looking person is not required to show the value of a product in the market.
even I think the same. The ad of green tea is given by Shraddha Kapoor. She is like she's first. She doesn't fit for it. Like you should show a real person who has used that and then show the result. She's already fit. She's already into that excessive exercise and everything. So this is wrong. A normal
Uh,
person. Yeah.
Well, as you were telling about Healthify, if you mind me, that app, the thing is that in that is too also a real marketing, because it shows the transition how Sara Ali Khan was really obese and she became fit after that. So I don't think that it is wrong marketing.
Exactly, that's what I said. Transformations are important. The meaning of the product is important. They didn't choose Sara Ali Khan because she was
Well,
very beautiful. They tried the concept was transformation.
Well, that is okay, but the thing is, if such a huge company is investing so much amount of money in advertisement, the end result they want is publicity and they want their product to grow. So the people are
What
gonna watch it if you are going to take a celebrity.
What do you
yeah,
think about a pan
a
masala
recent
ad? Pan masala ad can't be justified. Let it be Amitabh Bachchan or the poorest man.
a
Can
recent
we
study
now,
by TA. Okay.
uh,
How much time are
guys,
we
can
allowed?
we,
Can I
uh,
also ask a question from my side? Because the only that team has asked
guys,
that.
the proposition needs
Ask
to
it.
ask their question now.
Okay.
Okay, I wanted to ask what is your definition of beauty?
Is it just the outward appearance which you see? because all what you said was based
Well,
upon it.
Well,
yeah.
I
What
would
is
Let
like
me
your
to put
definition
this.
let me
of a
defend the
normal
point,
looking
Yes,
please.
person? A normal
excuse
looking
me.
Yeah,
person.
yeah,
See, well,
yeah.
you see, since well, I am understanding that you think that beauty is just about your facial looks and about your body. But you see, there are other actors too which do not fit into this criteria, and they are also being taken in advertisements. Like I can give you the example of Bappi Lahiri or Nawazuddin Siddiqui, Pankaj Tripathi. These are just like the other ordinary men which we see in our daily lives, and they are also being taken. So I don't think that there is any discrimination on the basis of looks or your
Let me
I
fitness.
I
think
know
I
let me
think
let
tell
me
you
I
what
think beauty is
what
subjective to a person.
that
It
Pankaj
is not.
Tripathi and
It is
Nawazuddin
not.
Siddiqui are not
I
taken
think
in fairness ads and manly ads. Only Shah Rukh Khan is taken, and Varun Dhawan is taking part in that manly ads, which shows the
I'll
fairness
what
I'll
do you
claims.
mean
And
by
Yes,
manly?
okay, but
I'll give
see,
you an
okay,
example.
the ads which want to promote fairness, they will take fair people. That is not something
Speakers,
which
we'll have
I
to end
understand
this
one
newspaper
thing.
can
round
claim
now.
the.
We'll have to end this round now. Time's up already. Okay, so thank you all speakers. Now that we are done with the rebuttal round, we'll be moving on to the second speaker from the proposition. Please let me know when you can start. Can we start now? Second speaker from the proposition. Anaya, Rutuja. Am I audible?
Yes.
Anaya, Rutuja, one of you kindly start.
I think Ruth was going as the second
yeah,
speaker,
I
right?
am
Is
the second speaker. So should I start?
Yeah.
yeah, you have been requested to start. Please do.
Okay. So, as my teammate said, that newspapers are the very cheaper and affordable source of communication and very easy medium to reach out to maximum people of number of people, irrespective of their income and can afford it. So, like when we are influencing people, so many people around the globe, why not influence them in a good way? Talking about magazines, they are very popular among the youth. So, in today's newspapers or magazines, a beauty standard is set that fair models are used more often for any advertisement, let it be beauty or property or any household product. They are trying to normalize this toxic beauty standard, which is very harmful for young generation as well as middle-aged man or women. While reading or seeing this normalization of unrealistic unhygienic standard, there is a fear of identity fundamentally developing under peer pressure due to society, thus losing their self-esteem. Anyone trying to want like looking themselves like they want to look like these models. They follow these unhygienic diets and develop eating disorder and finally leading to depression, which is most common in teens. A survey says that 80% of women compare themselves to images spread on media.
Rutuja, you are not
Although desire to
clearly
meet society's
audible.
definition of beauty is more common in young women, there is also pressure put to young men. Attention, dramatic, fearless. Men are not supposed to cry or show emotion. The media
Rutuja,
portrays men with
Rutuja,
fine
you are not
bodies and
clearly
gives the
audible.
impression that young men look like this, not manly. This gives
Kaushik,
them
can
the
you please
impression that they
confirm
are
if
not
this is
good
only
enough.
for me?
The pressure that
I
media
can't hear her at all well.
to
So,
look perfect is causing many teens to be unhappy with
Okay,
their
now it's
appearance.
okay.
Although mass
Rutuja,
a
could you
large
please
portion
stop?
of
Can you hear us?
yes,
Could you please restart again? Sorry, there was some internet issue from your end. We couldn't hear you.
I'm so sorry. I'll start again. I'll start again.
Okay, please
Just
let
Can
me
give a
you
know when
hear
you
second.
me?
can.
Let me also rejoin because
One
I'm also
second.
having an issue. So let me just rejoin in a second.
Okay.
Right, sure.
Yeah, I'm back. You can start whenever you're ready.
Rutuja, are you ready?
Okay, so am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, so should I continue or should I start again?
Start from the beginning, please.
It would be best if you start again because you're breaking up from the very beginning and it would not be possible for us to figure out where you ended.
Okay, I'll start again. So, should I start it right now?
Yeah.
Should I start?
Yeah.
Okay. What's wrong?
Can you please start, Rutuja?
Yeah, the timer will be started once you start, so don't worry about the timer. Start on your convenience.
Okay. So, emails that newspapers are very cheap and affordable source of communication and are easy medium.
Rutuja, I'll have to
Not too
stop
many
you again.
Breaking.
Yeah, your voice is breaking again,
people.
Rutuja.
I think there's a problem with Discord in itself because it's dropping everyone's connection off a while. So, is it possible, Rutuja, for you to speak to someone's phone? Am I audible?
Sorry, I can't hear you. What is that?
Hi. No, this Discord itself is having an issue here, so there's nothing that we can do because I am getting disconnected again.
So,
So, what do you want me to do? Oh my god.
I think we should shift
Am I
this debate to Google Meet. Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
Sure, no problem.
Kaushik? Prerna, Aditya, can any one of you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you're
Yes.
audible.
Yeah,
Loud and clear.
we'll be
okay? So,
shifting we'll be shifting the meet to Google Meet. I'll be sending the link to one of you, Aditya or Prerna, and Rutuja and Anaya. Anaya, am I audible to you?
Yes, it's Ananya, and yes, you're audible.
Okay, Ananya, we'll be shifting the meet to the debate to Google Meet now, and I'll be sending you the link. Right.
Hi. Am I audible now?
Yes, Kaushik. Are you still facing issues? Because we were thinking of shifting to Google Meet.
I prefer that we shift to Gmeet because not only me, I think everybody is getting disconnected between speeches. This happened in the last round as well. So if Gmeet would be possible, it would be great.
Okay, sure, we'll do that.
can you send that group
I'll send
meeting
the link.
link on WhatsApp? I'll join it.
Right, I'll send the link right now.
Thank you, Girik. Sorry to the teams about the delay. I think there's some technical issue with Discord itself. It's been acting up. We'll be shifting to Gmeet.
Should I leave?
You can leave once the meeting link is generated, I guess. I think the problem was because Discord takes a lot of data while streaming and also live streaming on YouTube. Everybody was glitching. I think shifting to Gmail should solve that. Yeah, that's it.
Kaushik, I'm sharing the link with the others. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, sure. Oh, I think everyone is here though.
Okay, yeah, so now everyone is here. And just give me a second, guys.
Moderator, I'm still waiting on the teams.
No, the teams are here.
All right.
Ruchi can start, right? Girikshi can start.
Yeah, give me just 1 second.
Sure.
I'm figuring something out. So is my screen visible to you all?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll now start with the first speaker of the proposition, the second speaker of the proposition. Please let me know when you can start.
Should I?
Yeah.
I'm ready. Okay. So, as Ananya said already, that newspapers are very cheaper and affordable source and are easy medium to reach out to many people. So, many people you can influence. So, why not influence in a good way? Talking about magazines, they are very popular among the youth. In today's newspapers or magazine, a beauty standard is set that the fair models are used more often for any advertisement, let it be beauty or property or any household product. They are trying to normalize toxic beauty standard, which is very harmful for young generation. While reading and seeing this normalization of unrealistic ideal beauty standards, there's a fear of missing out in teens and eventually developing into a peer pressure due to the society, thus losing their self esteem. Anyone trying want to look themselves like these models, they follow these unhygienic diet and excessive exercising that eventually developing into eating disorders and finally leading to depression, which is most common in teens. According to a survey, 88% of women compare themselves to images spread on media. Although the desire to be society's definition of beauty is more common in young women, there is also pressure put on young men. Men should be strong, athletic, fearless. Men are not supposed to cry or show emotion. The media portrays men with perfect body and gives the impression that young men who do not look like this are not manly enough. This gives young men the impression they are not good enough. The pressure that society puts into the media to look perfect is causing many men to feel insecure about their body. So we as a society should pay close attention to how we sculpt teens' perception of the world's beauty standard. I feel like I relate to this topic on some notes because a lot of teens like me have to deal with low self esteem. They feel happy when called when being called fair and so on. This has become a topic of serious discussion and also became a cause of concern everywhere. People start hating themselves and their bodies for no reason. And the worst effect of this is suicides. Just because you're unhappy with your looks, body, you can't change it, so you suicide. So, what I think is they must promote what beauty really is, what beauty means to everybody. Like, what should it mean? Like, you should be confident in yourself. What you should wear is confidence and not beautiful jewelries and all. Like, you shouldn't indulge yourself in losing your self confidence because of these things. Outer beauty attracts, but inner beauty captivates. There is no actual definition of beauty, but when you can see someone's spirit coming through, something
Speaker, I'll have to
unexplainable.
stop you there. The time's up.
Okay,
We'll
I'm
now
almost
have,
done with it.
I'm sorry, I'll have to stop you. We'll now have the second speaker from the opposition. Please let me know when you can start.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'll start.
Okay.
Yeah, a warm welcome to everyone present here. I would like to speak a few words on the opinion that magazines and newspapers shouldn't be forced to feature more normal looking people. First of all, can someone tell me what is being good looking or what is being normal looking? There is no general answer to this question. Everyone is unique. The idea of being good looking is pretty subjective to an individual. While someone might tag the recent Miss Universe pageant winner Harna Sandhu as good looking, someone might just tag her as a normal looking person. So while you might tag someone as good looking in the magazine, someone might tag you as a person as normal looking. Doesn't it seem like every time we turn around, someone beautiful is trying to sell us something? Sometimes it makes sense. We see gorgeous women with beaming smiles showcasing the advantages of Colgate, handsome men with chiseled six packs selling workout equipment. The way our brains work, just being exposed to something can influence how we see the world around us. When it comes to beauty, seeing a pretty person activates thoughts of goodness, which extends to our evaluation of other things. As a result, buyers who can see a beautiful person then go on to rate every product they come across more positively than buyers who didn't see her. All it takes to boost product evaluations is the sight of a pretty girl, even if she's simply on a magazine in a checkout lane. The game is all about perception, your point of view, the way you approach a particular incident. You can either see a good looking person in the newspaper and demotivate yourself, or you can take that as a pushing factor to hit the gym or to work on the quality of your hair and skin. Some famous person once said, run your own race. You can either feel anxious every time you look in the mirror or take grooming tips from social media influencers and bring about a positive change in yourself. You cannot blame your insecurity about yourself just on the fact that there are more good looking individuals on the magazine. It's all about your perception of yourself. It's about your self esteem and the image you hold about yourself and not comparing yourself to others. I think it's a self esteem issue than blaming it on social media. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. Um, Thank you, all speakers. Now we'll be moving on to the conclusion round, starting with the proposition. Please note that you're not allowed to bring up any new arguments here. The proposition, please let me know when you can start.
Okay, I'll start now.
Okay.
We all know that the present situation in the country is of uprising mental health problems and a deteriorating economy. Taking into consideration the mental health, decreasing fame of deserving entrepreneurs, wrong usage of people with a lot of followers, like in Vibble Pan Masala ad, it is proven that we cannot spend any further time not imposing strict protocols over magazines and newspapers to regulate the featuring of only celebrities. It is pure logic that newspapers and magazines will not start featuring normal looking people until they are forced and provided with relevant protocols. Only then they would stop shortchanging the social responsibility. Even Lord Krishna rightly said in Bhagavad Gita, Yato yato nishchalati banashchanchal manasthiram tatastato niyam yetad atmanyeva vasham nayet. It means that whenever we realize that our actions are producing results that harm someone, we must regulate our mind and start doing what is right. Social responsibility is the prime duty of newspapers and magazines. Profits can 101% be achieved by proper marketing strategies, but the damage which happens due to a wrong influence can never be reversed. Before you think that normal looking people should not be featured in newspapers and magazines, imagine yourself in a place where you're crying your heart out, ending your life just because you saw Harnath Sandhu in a TOI ad and couldn't look like her. Just because there's a difference in the normal looks which you have. Look at the reality, look at the practicality. This can't be avoided by having one like a JS magazine, which I already stated, which focuses on normal looking people, and this can only be achieved if newspapers and magazines are forced to feature normal looking people. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. I would now like to call upon the opposition to put forward their concluding statements. Please let me know when you can start.
Yeah. Concluding with our debate, I would like to say that seeing beautiful people, even if they aren't actually in an advertisement, can influence how we evaluate the places, people, and the products around us. When we see a beautiful person linked enough times to an item that has nothing to do with beauty, we act like Pavlov's dogs. We think of beauty and desirability whenever we see that item, and that makes us like it more. It is simply a marketing stunt which is quite successful. Whether or not seeing a beautiful person makes you likely to buy a beauty product has everything to do how you feel about yourself. I would like to sum up that you cannot always change your external factors. You cannot always change what is going on around you, but you can change your perception of them. Look at the glass half full rather than half empty. Life isn't about bad or good luck, it's about what you do, what happens to you, where and how you take it. Aspect of life is just not about being normal. We all want something extraordinary, even if it's your SEM end project or a simple advertisement. There needs to be something which captures your eye, which makes you like it instantly. You have to be unique to make it to the top. Why be ordinary when you can be extraordinary? Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. I now thank all speakers. With that speech, we've come to the end of this debate. Chair, would you like to take some time before you give the verdict?
Just give me 30 seconds to send my scores across to you and then I'll start.
Sure.
I've sent it over on WhatsApp, right?
Got them.
Yeah, done. I'll just start. Okay. Great. So, what we can look at throughout this debate is basically what essentially standards are maintained in terms of these magazines and these newspapers, right? And essentially the context of the debate laid around the fact that how these individuals who work within these spaces effectuate themselves within these peers, right? For example, when you're talking about magazines and newspapers, what kind of labeling or what kind of beauty standards are these people adhering to, and what kind of benefits or doubts that these people create generally? So, moving on from general considerations for this motion, for me, this motion stands and the proposition takes this debate on a clear margin in terms of understanding what essentially happened throughout the debate is understanding what was said by either side in terms of how beauty standards are maintained and how what kind of societal contexts are maintained within these spheres, right? Moving on, therefore, then in terms of understanding the conceptualization of beauty, I think what the proposition highlights here very clearly is that there are certain important pillars or requirements that these particular institutions face within communal spaces, right? Because they are so predominantly present, that they're so fundamentally important and widely viewed by so many individuals that they have a responsibility towards maintaining certain ethicalities and certain things that, because the stands that they leave within themselves and the stands that they exist and accrue towards is something that would engage a lot more requirement of socially responsible actions, right? And because these are also brands or capable companies which are promoting, say, standards which might be, say, in terms of the characterization of the proposition, creating a problem, like for example, fake beauty standards in terms of adherence of certain individuals towards what the other individual is doing, right? Because some popular figures within community spaces might try to be, or in terms or credited towards being more highly accredited by being more beautiful, being more placed, and being more well off, and therefore those particular individuals living in their particular standards are then looked towards, and then these applications of standards towards the rest of the community or society, something which creates a lot of problems, right? Because number one, that the proposition highlights, there's a lot of emotional turmoil which individuals might go about in terms of them not feeling worth themselves, right, or not feeling themselves in terms of how they view themselves, and then therefore the normalization of these standards of beauty, which might sometimes be impossible to achieve, might not look like the best case scenario, because in a normal case scenario, because we credit beauty over certain aspects, it then degrades our understanding of what these choices are, right? And therefore, inadvertently, in the second speech, also you hear that there is an effect on youth, right, in terms of how the mental barriers are reached and how problems in terms of highlighting themselves to be the best way possible so that peers in their society accept them, and that this concept of acceptance and problems create a lot of image issues, self-esteem issues, leading to self-harm in in some situations, as well as issues like eating disorders. So these are some of the key harms that I think the proposition told me about. I think what could be better done in the proposition's case is highlight to me how this essentially lead towards a responsibility that the magazines and newspapers maintain, and how the normal beauty standards and the normalization of standards of beauty would actually benefit individuals in this status quo. I think a little more characterization and a little more development would be better off in terms of the props case, right? But however, looking at the opposition's response now, I think the opposition did a fair bit of characterization in terms of what they believe to be the um, standard that people have aspirational value towards. In the starting of the first speaker speech, there was mention of superheroes and advertisements that people who look famous will gain more viewership. People who gain more viewership will then bring more brand value to these individuals. Right? I think while credited to a certain extent, I think this creates a very problematic scenario which you yourself not address in terms of the second speeches as well as the entire responses that you get from your side towards the questions that the government was raising in terms of how, say, recognition of certain issues and imposition of beauty standards are creating these problems of um, identification, creating these problems of mental health challenges, right? So when you're trying to even talk about audience pandering or pandering towards famous people, getting more people into these movements, I think that in itself concretes the case of what the government was trying to tell us, right? Because these standards are themselves then becoming toxic towards those people, right? So on that particular stance, there was a response from the second op speaker. I think the second op speaker did tell us a bit about how it's subjective. Good subjectivity comes into looks. I think that's something which is valuable. But when you characterize yourself as there being a requirement for advertisements to highlight famous people, as well as their requirements to be a certain conceptualization or perception going within community spaces, and that these perceptions are good, but they yet not respond to a lot of the harms that the proposition relating your model in itself fails, because it fails to respond to a lot of the characterization that the proposition brought about throughout the debate, right? I think a bit more in terms of feedback, general feedback to your side would be that try to build a bit more into what relations that beauty standards hold to magazine and newspapers, what it's so entrenched in the status quo that you cannot remove it at all, because removal of the same would be very problematic, right? And think even in the rebuttal space, I think there was a lot more problem because teams started speaking over each other. So a lot of the material I completely discredited, because you're only allowed to ask one question and respond. Even if you're responding both of your speakers, just end your response and then get through the next question. But cross questioning and follow-ups were not usually allowed. So whatever happened beyond a certain point in those cross question sessions, as well as the asking of follow-up questions, was something which I did not credit a lot, right? But when you're also looking at the rebuttal session and you're looking at why you choose looks and why you uh, understand what you understand beauty towards, I think there also the government gives a fair enough response. I think in general overview sense, that would be what I saw from this particular debate. I wish you best of luck for the following rounds. Thank you for a very encouraging session.
Thank you, speakers, and thank you, Chair. That was a great debate.
Great. Thanks a lot, everyone. Gary, would this be the same link for the next session, or is there a different one?
I guess we continue the next one on Discord.
Yeah, Discord is still having issues.
I think we can continue if like the adjudicator feels we can continue on the Gmeet itself, because Discord is having issues for a lot of rooms now.
Yeah, all the edges are highlighting the same things, but everybody's facing the same issues. So
Okay.
Could
I
you just
request.
tell the teams to like come on the here come on Google Meet?
Yeah, sure. I request the participants of this debate to kindly leave, and we'll be starting with the next debate.
Hello everyone, we are done for the day 2. Thank you so much for joining in with us. We'll be seeing you tomorrow at the day 3 of Somaiya Debate Society, Debatable 2.0. Thank you so much for joining. Enjoy yourselves. Good night. Bye bye.